Hello from Shanghai, this is Chris. Welcome to another episode of China Currents, your weekly news report of what's happening in China. Let's start today's episode by bidding farewell to the symbol of Cold War realpolitik. On November 30th, Henry Kissinger, the former US Secretary of State and a towering figure in international diplomacy during the Nixon and Ford administrations, has passed away at age of 100. The news marks the end of an era for the man who played a pivotal role in shaping American foreign policy in the late 20th century. Born in Fürth, Germany, Kissinger emigrated to the United States as a teenager to escape the Nazi regime. As a US top diplomat, Kissinger played a crucial role in many significant international events, including the establishment of US diplomatic relations with China, the negotiation of the Paris Peace Accords, and helped to end the Vietnam War and an initiation of détente with the Soviet Union. Henry Kissinger, as the United States National Security Advisor and later as Secretary of State during the Nixon administration, made a secret trip to Beijing to meet with Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai in 1971, paved the way for President Richard Nixon's historic visit to China the following year. Kissinger maintained a role as an informal diplomat and consultant on foreign policy, including US-China relations, long after he left public office. He visited China numerous times in the decades after he initially helped open diplomatic relations between the US and China, meeting with Chinese leaders and giving speeches on international relations and diplomacy. Many Chinese view Kissinger as a key architect of the diplomatic breakthrough with China and appreciate his pragmatic approach to international politics. His book On China, which outlines his perspective on Chinese geopolitical strategy and history, has been widely read in the country. In a world of today, it would be hard, if not impossible, to see another man maneuvering diplomacy based on realpolitik. In order to build allies based on not ideology but purely pragmatic reasons. But I'm not mourning the end of that era. Realpolitik, at least when in the hands of the Americans, was gone for good. It may be credited for paving the way of the normalized Sino-American relations and giving Kissinger a Nobel Peace Prize for ending the Vietnam War. But remember, contributing to that prize, there were also the war crimes in Indochina, the deadly coup d'etat against Salvador Allende in Chile, the firm support, the bloodbath in East Timor, and, as we are witnessing this very moment, the Palestinian question. Henry Kissinger was a man of his times. The Cold War, a period when imperialistic diplomacy was in its all-out form, that period has long gone, and the death of Henry Kissinger just officially crafted the epitaph of that historical episode. And next up, Gaza. On November 29th, the United Nations Security Council convened a high-level meeting to address the long-standing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Led by China in its role as the current rotating presidency, the meeting aimed to foster an enduring ceasefire between the two nations. Attended by foreign ministers and representatives of nearly 20 countries, including Palestine, Qatar, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, as well as all Security Council members, the discussions sought to revive efforts toward a viable solution. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi stressed the urgent need for the UN to assume a more active role in supervising humanitarian assistance to Gaza and called for a full implementation of Resolution 2712. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs also released the position paper of the People's Republic of China on resolving the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, outlining 5 key principles aimed at advancing the peace process. These included advocating for a comprehensive ceasefire, prioritizing the protection of civilians, ensuring robust humanitarian aid provisions, intensifying diplomatic mediation efforts, and ultimately achieving a political resolution through the implementation of the two-state solution. Minister Wang Yi underscored the prolonged neglect of the Palestinian people's right to statehood, survival, and return, which lies at the core of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He emphasized that the fairness and justice of the two-state solution is irreplaceable in resolving the Palestinian question. Next up, on November 27th, in response to massive rumor that Dell is planning on withdrawing from the Chinese market, Dell's Vice President Wu Dongmei said Dell has never released any misinformation regarding the so-called withdrawal from China. Since earlier this year, rumors have been rampant about one of the largest laptop producers withdrawing its supply chain from China. The market worried that Dell is planning to decrease its chip procurement from Chinese suppliers gradually, and the rumor even went to the point that Dell wants to completely exit China. These rumors are definitely false, the vice president reassured. Similar whispers have grown in the past months as China's economy recovers amidst tense China-US relations. Just days before Wu's clarification, rumors spread that Dell would stop selling a portion of its product equipped with high-end AMD graphic cards on the Chinese market to comply with the US chip bans. In early November, US investment giant Vanguard dismantled its last operating team in China. According to China's Ministry of Commerce, the actual use of foreign direct investment in the first 3 quarters of 2023 shows an 8.4% year-on-year decline. Also in October, the governor of China's central bank emphasized in the report the need to prevent the risk of abnormal fluctuations in cross-border fund flows, which analysts interpreted as an echo of the Commerce Ministry's statistics. In September, prominent chip producer Qualcomm confirmed it would lay off 20% of its employees in its Shanghai office. Yet many interpret these intertwined signs as market behaviors rather than a wave of foreign investment escaping China en masse. The Federal Reserve Board has maintained the federal funds rate in the range of 5.25 to 5.5%, the highest level in 22 years, and there's no reason to ignore such an impact on investment behavior. There will certainly be some fluctuations, as addressed in the column published by China News Service, one of China's state media outlets. With Xi-Biden meeting in San Francisco amid the APEC summit, the market expects welcome signs of rebound in economic interactions between the two countries. Next up, diplomacy. On November 26, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, along with South Korean Foreign Minister Park Jin and Japanese Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi, jointly attended the 10th China-Japan-South Korea Foreign Ministers meeting in Busan. This year marks the resumption of the Trilateral Foreign Ministers meeting between China, Japan, and South Korea after a 4-year hiatus. As close neighbors, China would continue to adhere to the principles of being friendly and cooperative with its neighbors and work together with South Korea and Japan to promote the resumption of trilateral cooperation. Chinese experts believe this meeting will not only pave the way for high-level meetings between the 3 Asian countries, but also will inject stability in the region and shore up the 3 countries' cooperation to offset the negative consequences of the current challenges from the global turmoil. Next up, against the backdrop of intensifying global competition, China organized its first International Supply Chain Expo from November 28th to December 2nd in Beijing. The expo aimed to provide a platform for industry players to explore opportunities, promote cooperation, and showcase its latest advances in the supply chain sector. It attracted 515 domestic and international companies and organizations. Coinciding with the expo on November 27th, US President Joe Biden announced the establishment of the White House Supply Chain Resilience Committee. This move comes as the United States seeks to strengthen its supply chain capabilities and reduce its dependency on foreign sources. Biden emphasized that the United States would never give up and predicted that historians will view this moment as the starting point for America's success in 21st century competition. While geopolitical tensions persist, American businesses showcase significant enthusiasm for the expo, despite the US government's repeated rhetoric on supply chain decoupling. According to the China International Chamber of Commerce, for the private sector, American exhibitors accounted for 25% of the registered overseas exhibitors at the event. As the world grapples with evolving economic dynamics and competition, the Expo offers the platform for stakeholders to forge partnerships, explore opportunities, and contribute to the future of global supply chains. Last but not least, on November 27th, a court hearing of the aviation transportation liability dispute related to MH370 began in the People's Court of Chaoyang District, Beijing. It is understood that more than 40 families of the passengers have filed lawsuits, with a case set to be heard between November 27th and December 6th at the Chaoyang Court in Beijing. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 was a scheduled international passenger flight operated by Malaysia Airlines that disappeared on March 8, 2014, while flying from Kuala Lumpur International Airport, Malaysia, to Beijing Capital International Airport in China. The aircraft operating the flight, a Boeing 777-200ER, last made contact with the air traffic control when it was over the South China Sea less than an hour after takeoff. It disappeared from air traffic controller's radar screen soon after. With all 227 passengers and 12 crew members on board presumed dead, the disappearance of Flight 370 was the deadliest incident involving a Boeing 777, as well as the deadliest incident in Malaysia Airlines history until it was surpassed in both regards by Malaysia Airlines Flight 17, which was shot down while flying over eastern Ukraine 4 months later. Despite multiple large-scale searches of the seabed, the bulk of the aircraft has not been located, raising many theories about its disappearance. On January 29, 2015, Malaysia's Department of Civil Aviation officially declared the loss of MH370 an accident, with all 239 people on board presumed dead. The lack of closure regarding the fate of the flight has tormented the families of those on board. The vast majority of passengers were from China and Malaysia. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching this episode of China Currents. If you have any thoughts and comments about our show, please reach us at the email address below. I'm Chris, looking forward to hearing from you and see you next time.